And here on a Tiger Sports Saturday, it's that time of the day where we get a local fishing report from our local professional fisherman, Dylan Thompson with Fishing with Dylan. How you doing today, Dylan?
I'm good, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing great. Trying to keep warm. I know over the next few days going to be really cold, which, of course, is good for the ice fishing. It's going to get the ice built. But just driving around, Fountain Lake, kind of crossing over Hatch Bridge, you look one way, it's ice houses everywhere. Look the other way, ice houses everywhere. So that's an awesome thing to see. And you got some of the big houses out there now as well. But I know one of the things we talked about last week was Edgewater and how that part of Fountain over the last couple of weeks has just exploded with ice houses.
Yeah, and there's good reason for that. There's definitely some quality fish being caught on the Edgewater side. I've heard multiple reports of mid-20s walleyes. People were not super excited to give up any specifics, but they're out there, and it might be a waiting game to a point where you just got to kind of put your hours in, but they're roaming, and there's some quality fish to be had out there.
Well, I know, and one of the only downfalls I've heard is about this little segment is you're giving away all of our good tips. I get more fisher people coming out, and unfortunately, here's the thing: it's tough to keep a hot spot secret in this area.
Oh yeah,
because as soon as you see someone fishing near there, it just all of a sudden everybody always shows up. So like Callahan's down there, even during the summertime, if you see the same person there multiple days, all of a sudden it's a ton of people there.
Yeah, it's an absolute magnet, and it don't take people long to figure out if something's going on. Like you said, you see the same boat there for more than a day or two. He's not there getting a tan, most likely, right? So, there is some etiquette to that. Try to keep a reasonable distance and, think about how close you would want someone to be to you, and just use basic guidelines. And then also remember that this is kind of how it works around here. When there's an area that's producing, people are going to kind of flock to it. So
yeah, and especially with ice fishing, what do they normally say is a good etiquette for distance before you set up a house next to another house?
Probably 50 feet is probably fair. That doesn't always work around here. Like the channel, when that's going down on Albert Lee Lake, it's like a carnival down there. You got people stacked on top of each other, and that's okay. And that's what the area dictates, right? But if you can get away with it, 50 feet's not a bad
Yeah, I know,
point.
We're not extremely deep, 20, 30 feet. Where especially if you get a walleye, they're going to travel. You're only looking at a few feet underneath. So, like I said, 50 feet should be plenty good for that fish to travel around in circles.
Sure. And now, speaking of walleyes and traveling, at this time of year, they're going to be relating to usually the deepest water the system has to offer, and that's probably why that Edgewater Bay is picking up a little bit. And then, in the evenings, you'd still want to look shallow, but shallow is kind of a relative term. Our lakes aren't deep here anyway. So, it varies from body of water. But, yeah, during the day, deep. In the evenings or low light periods at night, shallow.
And what are we really hearing that people are catching? Mainly these walleye on, but otherwise panfish. Anything change, or still using the? It's
all pretty much the same still. Keep that dead stick or tip up, soaking with a live minnow. That'll probably be your best bet. And that's another reason to kind of get away from the crowd too. The less commotion there is, the more comfortable the fish are, right? Mm-hmm. There's definitely something to be said for going off on your own and staying separate from the group. Unless the bite's really wild and they're on a very specific spot, it's better to be away from the commotion.
Yeah. Have you heard of ice depths now over this week?
We're over a foot. I haven't heard anything specific. I had a couple people reach out to me about the city beach access that is traditionally open, and I reached out to a contact in the city, and he said they're still a little cautious with the temps swinging the way they have. So he wouldn't give me a date, but they are keeping an eye on it, and when they feel it's safe or when they're comfortable with it, they'll definitely get that opened up.
Yeah, and I know Wednesday driving around, I noticed that some of the bigger houses were out there. And I know we talked last week a little bit, maybe single axle, but some of these are going to be the 2 axles and things like that.
So I'd say we're firmly over a foot if people are doing that. But now, with the warm temps, it drives me crazy.
Yeah. Well, definitely, we get into Tuesday-ish, Wednesday-ish. We should see some pretty thick ice out there.
Yeah, she's going to firm up. A few days of that, and we should be flirting with 20
I think when I was
inches.
looking at it, they said, even just the highs are going to be in the negatives. Over the Monday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Monday area. So yeah, like I said, always good to get that ice built up.
It's going to be sharp. She's going to make some ice the next week. So,
what else you got for us today?
Albertley Anglers is holding their first derby of the season. That's on Fish Donkey. It's called Albertley Anglers 2025 Season Kickoff, and that starts Friday, January 24th at 4 p.m. and ends Sunday, January 26th at 4 p.m. with season kickoff meeting to follow the end of the ice tournament on the 26th at 5 p.m. And I think they're doing that at the high school field house.
Okay.
So if you want information about joining Albertley Anglers, jump on Facebook and look them up, or shoot me a note, and I'll get you pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, and I know the Anglers, it's been growing here the last few years. How many students last year did you guys have?
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I can sure ask and have that info.
I had heard it's getting quite a few up there, quite a few numbers now.
Yeah, it's good, and it's expanding to some neighboring communities, Lake Mills, Lyle, some other areas. So it's very strong still.
Ice fishing tournaments coming up?
Locally, the Albertley Anglers one, and then the Big Freeze on the 8th is still probably the coolest stuff around here. I've been peeking a little bit. And some of these things don't advertise, and you got to poke a little harder to find them because they don't necessarily need permits for catch and release tournaments. On a small scale. So, the DNR website has some of that info if you're really interested in looking it up. MNDNR tournament permits, fishing tournament permits. If you search that, you'll get a huge list, way more info than you probably want or need, but it has everything. Every permitted tournament will be on that list. And I've had people ask me about fishing on different lakes. Great resource for, pre-prep is MNDNR's Lake Finder website. You jump on that, it asks you for a lake name, put the lake name in, hit search, and it'll bring up every lake with that name. You pick the one in the county you're looking for, and it has a lot of great info on fish stocking data, their test nets that they put out, all that data's all in there, water clarity, the list goes on. It's a great resource. Another cool thing going on, Minneapolis Boat Show starts the 23rd. I'll be there on behalf of North Star and Skeeter. A lot of cool stuff happening up there. So if you're thinking about a boat, go check that out. And then other than that, fun side fact, we've gained 26 minutes of daylight since the solstice in December. So days are getting longer, sun's getting warmer. Well, I guess after this week, hopefully we can look for warmer temps. But gaining daylight is always a nice thing.
So just looking here too, Take a Kid Ice Fishing Weekend is actually today through Monday the 20th, and that's where you can take a kid ice fishing. It's the ice fishing weekend. Residents can fish or spearfish for free when accompanied by a child under age 15 or under. So spend some quality time and plan a special ice fishing trip, here today or through Monday. Once again, though, dress in layers if you're going to be out there standing on the ice.
It's going to be cold starting today, yeah.
Now let's talk about, so you said with tip-ups, things like that. When it gets this cold, how often should you be going and checking your tip-up?
Probably hourly. You want to go pick that up. I use insulated ones that cover the whole hole, and that buys you a little more time. But if you have the flat open style one, yeah, you're going to want to be clearing ice out of that at least hourly. And if it's really cold, probably every half hour.
Yeah, no, this says, the right clothing keeps anglers warm and dry. Stocking caps, scarves or net gaiters, mittens, warming layers, socks, and boots. And
dress in layers, keep the wind off your skin.
Yeah, and I know, we really haven't had a lot of snow cover. So if you are going to be out there standing in the ice, make sure you have some kind of ice cleat or something like that to make sure that you definitely stay safe. I know
inexpensive insurance.
Yeah, and you can normally pick those up at any any retailer, just because we're in Minnesota, right? They have things that
Standard
slip over
stuff
your
around
boots.
here.
I know one of the things, too, that it says here, avoid accidents on the ice, so, watch for slipping on the ice, stepping in a hole, sunburn, which can happen, especially when you're on the ice or on that white. It's bouncing back a lot. You don't necessarily think you're going to get sunburned in the wintertime, but it's a different sun when you're on that ice.
It's definitely happened to me.
Windburn, of course, frostbite, and then getting lost. Normally here, we're not too concerned with getting lost on Fountain Lake. You get some of the bigger lakes if you're out and about. Know your surroundings. Once again, if you're going to go out, especially in kind of that sunset area, check your surroundings. If you're going to be out on near Hatch Bridge, know where Hatch Bridge is and where your entrance and exits are off. And we really don't have a lot of snow cover, so we don't see the plowed roads out on the ice, which is normally something that I'm not even sure who does that anymore. I know Earl Krieger used to take his plow out there and plow roads. And, like I said, just watch your surroundings.
Yep, pay attention. Give yourself some good visual landmarks and know about where you came on and off. Keep you safe.
One other question that I had, when you get towards the kind of that sunset into the night bite, what is your thoughts on the glowing jigs? The ones where you pull them up, you use your little light on it so that it lights. Do you think that really works or not?
Absolutely. Glow can be an outstanding attractant. That little bit of difference or something that helps the fish locate the bait from a distance. Rattles can be really good if we're talking about that kind of thing. Little glow buckshot spoon from Northland, awesome.
And I know we've talked about this in our past previous shows, and it was kind of funny. I was going to pick up my son the other day, and some guys were talking about ice fishing out on Fountain, and the one guy was telling him, "Yeah, we have structure now," and the guy's like, "No, we don't." And that's one other big thing. We've talked about this before. You can actually go to your Facebook site, Fishing with Dylan.
Yep.
And you have a map on there of where the kind of the structure was placed this last summer.
Yep, I posted maps a couple weeks ago on where approximately those rock piles were installed. If you have questions or need some clarification, shoot me a note. I'll certainly guide anybody as best I can to help locate those. That is going to be really good areas to check out, having never had that in this lake before. Fish are going to gravitate to that, so
and as well as the deeper areas where they dredged.
Yep,
that's as well on that map as well. So, but yeah, like I said, hopefully you get a little time yourself to get out there this weekend and get your line wet and drill a few holes and go chase down some of those walleye that people are catching now.
That's the goal. I had a couple meetings pop up on Saturday, so I'm skeptical again, but we're going to give it our best effort to get out there.
Yeah. Otherwise, to our listeners, if maybe you're out in the ice house right now listening to us, or you're planning on going out, maybe you're on the way out to the ice. Once again, use courtesy to your surrounding fisher people, and make sure you bundle up because it's cold out there today.
Real cold. Find your long johns. You're going to need them.
All right, well, this has been another Fishing with Dylan episode here on Power 96 on a Tiger Sports Saturday. Dylan, thank you for stopping in.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
And once again, go find all that information on Fishing with Dylan on Facebook. We'll be right back more on Tiger Sports Saturday.